This video is brought to you by Devout Decals, makers of reusable Catholic art for your home altar, your bedroom, and your home classroom.
We continue our look at the characteristics of the Antichrist and what his reign will look like, according to the early great minds of the church. And today we have St. Irenaeus, the doctor of the church, and he gives us a look at the Antichrist as rooted in the book of Revelation, better known traditionally by Catholics as the Apocalypse of St. John, as well as some of the writings of other early church fathers. And in this, you will find, I think, some reassurance. There are people who believe that Pope Francis is the Antichrist. Pope Francis cannot be the Antichrist. He does not fit the bill in numerous ways, as you will hear. That doesn't mean he's not a forerunner. It doesn't mean he's not a forerunner of the false prophet, whatever. But he's not the Antichrist. Get that idea and toss it aside. He's not the Antichrist, as you will hear. He will be very clearly a political figure of some kind who will solve the world's problems. As others have said on this subject, if the world looks like it's on the brink of total flameout and you see suddenly an otherwise unknown figure arise who miraculously solves problems that no one else has been able to solve, that might be your Antichrist. But no political figure on the stage today fits that bill either. So there's some reassurance in that. Here's St. Irenaeus, doctor of the church, on the Antichrist. The reign of Antichrist, according to St. Irenaeus. By means of the events which shall occur in the time of Antichrist, it is shown that he, being an apostate and a robber, is anxious to be adored as God, and that although a mere servant, he wishes himself to be proclaimed as a king. For he, the Antichrist, being endued with all the power of the devil, shall come not as a righteous king, nor as a legitimate king, in the subjection to God, but as an impious, unjust, and lawless one, as an apostate, iniquitous, and as a slayer, as a robber, concentrating in himself all satanic apostasy, and setting aside idols to persuade men that he himself is God, raising up himself as the only idol, having in himself the multifarious errors of the other idols. This he does in order that they would do now worship the devil by means of many abominations, may serve himself by this one idol, of whom the apostle thus speaks in the second epistle to the Thessalonians. Quote, "Unless there shall come a falling away first, and the man of sin shall be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself as if he were God." The apostle therefore clearly points out his apostasy, and that he is lifted up above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, that is, above every idol. For these are indeed so called by men, but are not really gods, and that he will endeavor in a tyrannical manner to set himself forth as God. Daniel, looking forward to the end of the last kingdom, meaning the 10 last kings, amongst whom the kingdom of these men shall be partitioned, and upon whom the son of perdition shall come, declares that the 10 horns shall spring from the beast, and that another little horn shall arise in the midst of them, and that 3 of the former shall be rooted up before his face. He says, "And behold, eyes were in his horn as the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. And his look was more stout than his fellows. I was looking, and this horn made war against the saints, and prevailed against them, until the Ancient of Days came and gave judgment to the saints of the Most High God. And the time came, and the saints obtained the kingdom." Then further on, in the interpretation of the vision, there was said to him, "The 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon earth, which shall exceed all other kingdoms, and devour the whole earth, and tread it down, and cut it into pieces. And its 10 horns are 10 kings which shall arise, and after them shall arise another, who shall surpass in evil deeds all that were before him, and shall overthrow 3 kings, and he shall speak words against the Most High God, and wear out the saints of the Most High God, and shall propose to change times and laws. And everything shall be given into his hand until a time, times and a half time, that is for 3 years and 6 months, during which time when he comes he shall reign over the earth. Of whom also the apostle Paul, again speaking in the second epistle to the Thessalonians, and at the same time proclaiming the cause of his advent, thus says, "And then shall the wicked one be revealed, whom the Lord shall slay with the spirit of his mouth, and destroy by the presence of his coming, whose coming is after the working of Satan, and all power, and signs, and portents, and lies, with all the deceivableness of wickedness for those who perish, because they did not receive the love of truth, that they might be saved. And therefore God will send them the working of error, that they may believe a lie, that they all may be judged who did not believe the truth, but gave consent to iniquity. The Lord also spoke as follows to those who do not believe in him. I have come in my Father's name, and ye have not received me. When another shall come in his own name, him ye shall receive, calling Antichrist the other, because he is alienated from the Lord. This is also the unjust judge, whom the Lord mentioned as one, quote, who feared not God, neither regarded man, to whom the widow fled in her forgetfulness of God, that is, the earthly Jerusalem, to be avenged by her adversary, which also he shall do in the time of his kingdom. He shall remove his kingdom into that city, and shall sit in the temple of God, leading astray those who worship him as if he were Christ. To this purpose Daniel says again, and he shall desolate the holy place, and sin has been given for a sacrifice, and righteousness been cast away in the earth, and he has been active and gone on prosperously. And the angel Gabriel, when explaining his vision, states with regard to this person, and towards the end of their kingdom a king of a most fierce countenance shall arise, one understanding dark questions and exceedingly powerful, full of wonders. And he shall corrupt, direct, influence, and put strong men down, the holy people likewise. And his yoke shall be directed as a wreath around their neck. Deceit shall be in his hand, and he shall be lifted up in his heart. He shall also ruin many by deceit, and lead many to perdition, bruising them in his hand like eggs. And then he points out the time that his tyranny shall last, during which the saints shall be put to flight, they who offer pure sacrifice unto God. And in the midst of the week, he says, the sacrifices and libations shall be taken away, and the abomination of desolation shall be brought into the temple. Even unto the consummation of the time shall the desolation be complete. Now, 3 years and 6 months constitutes the half week. In a still clearer light has John in the Apocalypse indicated to the Lord's disciples what shall happen in the last times, and concerning the 10 kings who shall then arise, among whom the empire which now rules the earth shall be partitioned. He teaches us what the 10 horns shall be which were seen by Daniel, telling us that it has been said to him, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, who have received no kingdom as yet, but shall receive power as if kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and give their strength and power to the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, because he is the Lord of lords and the King of kings. It is manifest, therefore, that of these potentates who he is to come shall slay 3, and subject the remainder to his power, and that he shall be himself the 8th among them. And they shall lay Babylon waste, and burn her with fire, and shall give their kingdom to the beast, and put the church to flight. After that they shall be destroyed by the coming of our Lord. For that kingdom must be divided, and thus shall come to ruin. The Lord declares when he says, every kingdom divided against itself shall not stand. It must therefore be that the kingdom, the city, and the house be divided into 10, and for this reason he has already foreshadowed the partition and division, which shall take place. Daniel also says particularly that the end of the kingdom consists in the toes of the image seen by Nebuchadnezzar, upon which came the stone cut without hands, and as he himself says, the feet were indeed the one part iron, the other part clay, until the stone was cut without hands, and struck the image upon the iron and clay feet, and dashed them into pieces even to the end. Then afterwards, when interpreting this, he says, and as thou sawest the feet and the toes partly indeed of clay and partly of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, and there shall be in it a root of iron, as thou sawest the root mixed with baked clay. And the toes were indeed the one part iron, the other part clay. The 10 toes therefore are these 10 kings, among whom the kingdom shall be partitioned, of whom some indeed shall be strong and active, or energetic. Others again shall be sluggish and useless, and shall not agree. As also Daniel says, some part of the kingdom shall be strong, and part shall be broken from it. As thou sawest the iron mixed with the baked clay, there shall be minglings among the human race, no cohesion with the other, just as iron cannot be welded onto pottery ware. And since an end shall take place, he says, and in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven raise up a kingdom which shall never decay, and his kingdom shall not be left to another people. It shall break in pieces and shatter all kingdoms, and shall shatter itself be exalted forever. As thou sawest that the stone was cut without hands from the mountain, and broke into pieces the baked clay, the iron, the brass, the silver, and the gold. God has pointed out to the king what shall come to pass after these things, and the dream is true, and the interpretation trustworthy. The Apostle John says, because they received not the love of God that they might be saved, therefore God shall also send them the operation of error, that they may believe a lie, that they all may be judged who have not believed the truth, but consented to unrighteousness. For when he, the Antichrist, is come, and of his own accord concentrates in his own person the apostasy, and accomplishes whatever he shall do according to his own will and choice, sitting also in the temple of God, so that his dupes may adore him as the Christ, wherefore also shall he deservedly be cast into the lake of fire. This will happen according to divine appointment. God, by his prescience, foreseeing all this, and at the proper time sending such a man, that they may believe a lie, that they may all be judged who did not believe the truth, but consented to unrighteousness, whose coming John has thus described in the Apocalypse. Quote, "And the beast which I had seen was like unto a leopard, and his feet as of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon conferred his own power upon him, and his throne, and great might. And one of his heads was as it were slain unto death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon because he gave power to the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto this beast, and who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things, and blasphemy and power was given to him during 42 months. And he opened his mouth for blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, and those who dwell in heaven. And power was given him over every tribe, and people, and tongue, and nation. And all who dwell upon the earth worshipped him, every one whose name was not written in the book of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. If any one have ears, let him hear. If any one shall lead into captivity, he shall go into captivity. If any one shall slay with the sword, he must meet the same fate. Here is the endurance and the fate of the saints. After this he shall likewise describe his armor-bearer, whom he also terms a false prophet. He spake as a dragon, and exercised all the power of the first beast in his sight, and caused the earth and those that dwell therein to adore the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he shall perform great wonders, so that he can even cause fire to descend from heaven upon the earth in the sight of men, and he shall lead the inhabitants of the earth astray. Let no one imagine that he performs these wonders by divine power, but by the working of magic. And we must not be surprised, if since the demons and apostate spirits are at his service, he, through their means, performs wonders, by which he leads the inhabitants of the earth astray. John says further, And he shall order an image of the beast to be made, and he shall give breath to the image, so that the image shall speak, and he shall cause those to be slain who will not adore it. And he says also, He will cause a mark to be put in the forehead and in the right hand, that no one may be able to buy or sell, unless he who has the mark of the name of the beast or the number of his name, and the number is 666. That is 6 times 100, 6 times 10, and 6 units. He gives this as a summing up the whole of that apostasy which has taken place during 6,000 years. In the end, the church shall be suddenly caught up from this, it is said. There shall be tribulation such as has not been seen since the beginning, neither shall be. For this is the last contest of the righteous, in which when they overcome they are crowned with incorruption. And there is therefore in this beast when he comes a recapitulation made of all sorts of iniquity, and of every deceit, in order that all apostate power, flowing into it and being shut up in him, may be sent into the furnace of fire. Fittingly, therefore, shall his name possess the number 666, since he sums up in his own person all the commixture of wickedness which took place previous to the deluge, due to the apostasy of the angels. For Noah was 600 years old when the deluge came upon earth, sweeping away the rebellious world, for the sake that the most infamous generation which lived in the times of Noah. And Antichrist also sums up every error of devised idols since the flood, together with the slaying of the prophets and the cutting off of the just. For that indeed which was set up by Nebuchadnezzar had indeed a height of 60 cubits, while the breadth was 6 cubits, on account of which Ananias, Azarias, and Misael, when they did not worship it, were cast into the furnace of fire, pointing out prophetically, by what happened to them, the wrath against the righteous, which shall rise towards the time of the end. For that image, taken as a whole, was a prefiguring of this man's coming, decreeing that he should undoubtedly himself alone be worshipped by all men. Thus, then, the 600 years of Noah, in whose time the deluge occurred because of the apostasy, and the number of cubits of the image for which these just men were sent into the fiery furnace, do indicate the number of the name of that man in whom is concentrated the whole apostasy of 6,000 years, and unrighteousness and wickedness and false prophecy and deception, for which things' sake a cataclysm of fire shall also come upon the earth. So I'm curious, what did you think about that? Did you find that reassuring, that St. Irenaeus makes it clear that this is a political figure of some kind, that he will come from he will sprout up from among the kings, meaning the rulers of the day, could be prime ministers or whatnot, but He will arise from the political class of probably the old Roman Empire at that point, meaning old Roman Empire, the countries of the old Roman Empire. I'm curious what you have to say about this, so let me know in the comments. Please hit like and subscribe if you haven't. It does help. So does sharing this on social media. That helps too. And as always, pray for the church. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.